What is up, YouTubers, gamers, and fellow hobbyists out there? And welcome to another tutorial. And in this tutorial, as you can see, I'm going to be painting out one of the aliens from the core box set Aliens. Another glorious day in the core. Well, as you can see, I've got my alien all primed up and ready to go. I'm using a light primer, just a grey, that's just a normal grey I suppose, but it's quite light. You can get darker ones obviously nowadays, but I'm using a grey primer because I want to have a sort of contrasty effect without using contrast. Now these guys, a lot of them use black to paint them. I didn't want to go with that. I wanted a kind of a dark but not black, so I'm going with Night Blue by Game Color for my first coat of paint, with a thinner medium from Vallejo, and I'm going to be using them in a roughly 1:1 ratio mix, as you will see here. The Night Blue is quite thick, quite opaque, so I had to use, an equal amount. So I'm just showing you there on my palette and mixing them up. I wasn't sure at this stage how thin I really wanted to paint. Obviously, I don't want to obscure the lovely detail that you get on the alien. And it just turned out, it just so happened I lucked out. 1:1 was perfect, and that set me up for the rest of my aliens. So there we go. So that's our mixture. Using a small base brush to apply this first paint onto the model with, and it's going to cover the majority of the area of the aliens. So yeah, so I wanted to get that on there, and I've decided that this is going to be the color scheme of all my aliens. Now and in the future, or it's going to be roughly the color scheme. Night Blue I found was a glorious paint to work with, very easy. So literally all I do with this in this consistency is I apply it all over the model. Careful not to let it pool up too much in any one area. The thinner medium really helps with the control of having it this thin, because it's liable to do that if you are not careful. So here we are, all speeded up, and there's our first layer down. It's looking quite dark at this stage, not to worry. I mean, they are a dark creature, and especially in the movie Aliens, you don't see an awful lot of them. A lot of it is shot in darkness itself, so you want them quite dark. I just didn't want them black on the tabletop, because that just looks like you haven't bothered painting the model, to me. So that is our first layer done, and there he is, all dry. As you can see, dries a lot lighter, which is great. You do get a sort of contrasty effect with it, as you can see. Now we're going in with a bad and black just for a couple of areas, namely the claws and the very front of the lobe of the head. Again, I'm using a 1:1 mix ratio with the paints. So I'm not, in fact, every paint I used was thinned down to some degree, every single one. Oh yes, and of course the barb of his tail at the very end, just wanted that on there. So do that on the those protrusions that come out of his back. I don't know what they are, but they're there. And I'm painting around the middle section of them, because as you can see, there is a sort of a line of ridges in the middle, and you get this line in a couple of places. You've got one on his leg there, for instance. I'm going to be painting those separately later, so being very careful, trying not to go over the whole thing, because like I say, I don't want to obscure detail. And the claws, which are on his feet as well. We've got one on the back of his heel and his hands. The ridges, those protrusions from his back, they're what take the longest at this stage. And of course the frontal lobe of his head, I wanted that to be a little bit black at the moment as well. And there we go. Let's get this done. Oh, and the lines on the side of his head, those ridges. I did forget that. Apologies. It was actually a while ago that I filmed it. Of course, wanting to do a voiceover later. Sometimes you forget things. But yes, the ridges on the top of his head as well were done. That's the only black I want on him. Yeah, I'm just pointing out those lines of ridges at this stage. Okay. I did wait for each layer to be thoroughly dry before moving on. And we're going with camouflage green now from Game Color, again with the thinner medium, also in a 1:1 mix ratio. And I'm going to be going for these ridges that are all over his body here. Back of the head, on the legs and arms. There's a couple on the body of some of them, because what I took this opportunity to do all my aliens, kind of production line them the same stage, as it were. Changing the brush out, going with an Art Master 0 now. So I'm just showing you the areas in question that I'm going to be painting. And it really does help to bring out the details of the model when you take time to do this. It'd be so easy just to ignore that area of him, or just leave it to a fine highlight. No, I didn't want to do that. It really does bring out the model, the details of the model. It's quite eye-catching. If only I could paint this quickly. But then again, I find painting therapeutic, so I'm not that fussed. And I got nowhere to be, so that's that stage done. lead belcher. Apart from the base, I'm using airbrush thinner to thin it down with, obviously, in a 2:1 ratio and a 1:1 ratio with the thinner medium. So for every drop of lead belcher, 2 drops of airbrush thinner, 1 drop of thinner medium. So apart from the base, which is obviously going to be lead belcher, can you guess where else I'm going to paint metallic? That's right, I'm going for his teeth, or at least I will be. In hindsight, I probably should have done his teeth first, but there you go. I'm using a null oil wash now to wash over the base. The bases in this game are fairly easy to do. They really are. I actually decide to paint the rim of the base black. Later on, I decide that I prefer the look of that. Okay, coming in with some Thunderhawk blue now, and this Dayler and Brownie brush, size 2. It's a flathead one. It makes an ideal little dry brush, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Just a quick dry brush over all the spiky bits and ridges, and of which there are a lot on this model. Particularly the tail, as you can see. And of course I'm going over the head as well. So not speeding up anything now, it's all in real time. Dun dun dun. The rib cage as well, or equivalent he has thereof. Alright. Not a heavy one. Right, now for this, I've changed the model to one where the teeth are coming out of his mouth, and so bloody red by Game Color and thinner medium to thin it down. Now I'm not doing the teeth themselves, of course. I'm just doing the tendons or whatever it is that the teeth are attached to. Okay, so not even a tongue, I suppose, although I've no idea at all. But some of the models have the teeth being extracted. Now Rune Fang Steel, which is a brighter metallic silver, or anything you can find that's brighter than lead belcher, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. I'm using Rune Fang Steel to go over the teeth that are actually coming out there on attached to that stalk or whatever it is, where they extend their teeth. Their teeth do look metallic, so I actually go over all the teeth with Rune Fang Steel at this stage. And once I've done that, I just add a couple of highlights onto the base, just a couple here and there dotted about, nothing fancy. And then I wasn't sure even that you actually needed that, but there it is. And there you go. There you go. So thanks for watching. If you would like to help support me and this channel, then please head over to my Patreon site. There are currently tiers or levels in use, and if you watch my Patreon intro video, I briefly go over the benefits of each level, and there will surely be more to follow in the future. Your amazing support is greatly appreciated. There is also a PayPal button on my banner on my home screen. This is just in case you would like to send me a one-off tip. Of course, if you do not want to support me financially, there are still a couple of ways that you can help me out at no cost to yourself. Just simply hit the like button if you liked the video, or hit the dislike button if you disliked it. Either way helps me and my channel. And don't forget to click on the bell button so you can be informed about future uploads. Lastly, if you can, share this video in any way possible. That would be very much appreciated. Until the next time, this is Mini Warzone saying, remember, all brushes lead to war. Have yourselves a great rest of the day.